Welcome to Overdrive. I'm Peter Hills and these are my mini racing diaries. Last time I completed the engine build by putting the head and cam belt on, timing it all up and then fitting the auxiliaries. But as nice as the engine is, it's no good sat on the sideline. But first the front subframe needs some attention before I can head back up to Norfolk to get the engine set up and see how well it performs. So I've already done in some other films, you've seen the engine all built up, so that's all done. But one of the big problems I had last year was racing out to Zandvoort, and I just got it a little bit wrong on the car, which resulted in this poor old subframe taking a bit of a hammering. We went off and hit the right hand side on the Armco, and as you can see from this bit of film, if you look at that beam and then the beam at the back, they definitely don't line up. In fact, it's even better if you kind of look at it from this side. So if you look at the tower tops there, and if you come back down, you'll see that they are way out. So effectively, when it hit, this corner went down, and it also twisted all the back legs as well. You can see the impact mark where the suspension came up and hit it, so it shoved everything around, pushed this across to the inside. So I don't think we can do anything with this, so unfortunately that's had it. But what we did manage to do is get hold of a straight one, and NDAF at Owens Fabrication has done all these mods, so all the strengthening around the towers, cut the towers away so the dampers can sit more upright, reinforcing off the towers there, and then on the front beam you can see that they've welded in lattice work to reinforce that front box section. And a lot of people also do a lot of lightning holes in their subframes as well to keep the weight off the car. I don't need to lose a lot of weight with this, so I'm going to leave it complete. And also I think I don't need to, I want the lightning holes in it. There's enough flex with these subframes anyway, so let's keep all the metal work there and keep the strength in it. So hopefully this afternoon now the job's going to be is get this subframe into position and start building it up. So like a lot of jobs on this Mini, you end up doing a lot of it your own, so you find ways of adapting. So we just lift this up into position. Here we go. Let's find a balance point. That's good. One of the things people don't realise with the race cars is that normally there's a spacer underneath here, but to keep the geometry right on the car we tend to run with them, which is why we end up with those big spacers on the top. Yes, good stuff. Oh, it's nice to see that back on. Okay, so got the bottom arm on. Next thing, suspension. Now we stick with the good old competition cone. You can see here the profile of these quite a bit different. They're less pointed, flatter here, and with those we just use the nice big wide seat of the old Mini Spares Rip Speed cone. I mean, these just work. There's plenty out there, but I've had these for ages and they work for me. You could go coilovers on these and make it trickier, but there's a lot of development, and all the quick mini miglias run with these. So if you haven't got the time for testing and stuff, I just stick with what works, and these work, so I'm not messing around. So obviously we've got to get that into this tower, then put the cone into place, and then eventually slide this arm in, the spacers, the pin. I've already filed out this hole here with the powder coating, so the pin will go through. So let's see how this all fits. Yeah, you feel like that's just gone onto the seat nicely. And it just fits in there. A treat. I'm just going to rummage around in here for a nut. We're done with them. I did have one spare. Oh, well, never mind. Let's take that off. Times like this I could do it a few more hands, but here we go. That's got the pin in. That's all lining up. This has all been stripped down and greased beforehand, so it's just a matter of sliding this all into position now. And I reckon I've got that pin round the wrong way for the moment. Let's just rotate it. That looks better. Very satisfying actually, this bit. I do enjoy building up things like this. Although being a new one, I've still got a lot of development to be done on it, deciding where things go. It's not all straightforward. Done a few changes on the engine. Want to try a different position for my radiator as well, so a few decisions to be made yet as to how it's all going to go together. So once we get the engine in, I have to think about the rad mounts. We're going to put the oil cooler. Want to try and improve the plumbing, make sure we don't have any failures. Normally I like to run the cooler next to the rad out the way. It's quite trendy to run them off the front of the subframe hanging below, but I've seen too many incidents where somebody's run over a curb and next minute the oil cooler's burst and they're out the race, and I'd rather keep things like that tucked up out of the way. Just I could do without problems like that. Just get this bolt on, and it's all looking pretty good actually. You can see how much slack we've got there. That's because, you know, the cars run so low that everything drops. It's important to make sure you got that in the right place, and we've got a nice little stop. And you can see here, just get rid of the standard rubber stop, made in a little aluminium stop with a packer and the bolt on top, and that just stops the suspension from dropping too much. Just making sure on that seat. This looks good. We've got to do a setup on the suspension anyway, so I can just wind this this rod up for the moment. Let's put that in there. It's all looking good. There we go. And that's about as much travel as we have on these, i.e. none at all. So on this I just run these little Protect double adjustables, really quite a simple little inexpensive little damper actually. I've been quite pleased with them so far. Do what I want to do. Well, being a Libra, we can run what we like, and I have to think about my budget, so these really worked out for me quite well. Obviously the Miglias have to run a control damper on the front because they were getting really tricked with what they were running. Some seriously clever dampers are being used with them, but I think the use of a limited slip diff nowadays has made quite a difference, I think, to what you need in respect of traction, because when they were open diff, then obviously the dampers had a real big part to play in how the car performed and how they got traction and not wheel spinning and stuff like this. But now they've got a diff, and in some ways maybe how tricked the dampers are is maybe not as important, because the diff's doing all the work now, ensuring you got the drive all the time. I've never driven a MIG with a open diff or with the closed one, so I can't possibly comment. But certainly with the Libras, we can do what we like. I run an LSD in my gearbox, but I haven't gone too trick with my dampers. Nice, fairly simple little set of Protects that suit what I want to do with the car. And you can set them up for bump. So bump is black, red is rebound. Couldn't be much easier really. And with these we tend to run them really stiff, these cars. You'd be surprised. I mean, effectively you bounce them up and down, it's easy just flexing the tyres. You can see now why a lot of people, especially with the way we run these dampers on these cars, you've got your top mounts now. Normally a mini one sits about here and it sticks out here because the arms are down here, so they sit at a bit of a strange angle. And if you'd run that when your car's really low and they're out here, effectively this arm is swinging inwards, so really it doesn't actually press on the shock that well. You know, it's actually riding up, and kind of at times it's nearly swinging away from that pivot point here. So everyone likes to bring them more upright, and with that you can see that as this end comes up, it is actually doing something, but obviously there's no clearance here, so you can see my finger, the towels are being away. So one of the main mods here is to cut this corner away, and you can see then that this damper can rise up and down quite happily without contacting anything. It's lovely to see everything going back together. A little bit of grease on things just to keep everything nice. And once I've done this side, I'm not going to be fitting the hubs at the moment. I want to get the engine in first, because then I can put all the drive shafts through onto the engine and connect all the hubs. So this is just building it as far as I want to go. But so far it's all going together quite nicely. Really pleased. Just hope I don't go through another front subframe this year.